It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in man. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in princes. The Lord is my strength and my song. He has become my salvation. Glad songs of salvation are in the tents of the righteous. The right hand of the Lord does valiantly. The right hand of the Lord exalts. The right hand of the Lord does valiantly. Open to me the gates of righteousness, that I may enter through them and give thanks to the Lord. This is the gate of the Lord, the righteous shall enter through it. I thank you that you have answered me and have become my salvation. The stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. This is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it.
See the one who overcame. We lift you higher, we lift you higher. See the name above all names. There is no other, there is no other. See the one who overcame. They lift you higher, we lift you higher. The name above all names. There is no other, there is no other like you. Jesus Christ, we magnify your life, for your majesty. We crown you King of Kings.
Next slide. I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. Let's stop with this word I. Now, don't worry, we're not going to go through every little word. But I is important here. Why? Because the I in this context is King David. The king. He wasn't short of cash. He lived in a wonderful palace that the Lord had him build for himself. During this time, the people of Israel were very much behind him. They loved him. But David was still going through trials. My friends, it does not matter how much money someone has or what power they have or where they live. We will still go through trials and troubles. Even King David, a man after God's own heart, did. And what was he doing? He waited. Notice this word's in the past tense. This is important because King David is reflecting on something that happened, these first 3 verses, because he is going through troubles again at the end of the psalm. It's kind of like us. God gets us through, we reflect for when troubles come again. But he was waiting. He was looking back. But he was waiting patiently. We seem to have a patience problem nowadays. I was talking about this with a good friend of mine, a pastor of church who we recently attend, Pastor Joe, and he was sharing with me why he thinks we struggle with patience. It's because we're so used to getting everything right away. He said, Rob, I have a magic front porch. I said, Joe, explain to me your magic front porch. He said, I go on the internet on a Monday, I press a few buttons, and the button that I pressed on Monday for an item, the item magically appears on my front porch 2 days later. Patience. He's in his 70s or 60s, and he said, Rob, I remember when I was young, I would collect box tops, send them in, and something would show up 6 weeks later, and I'd be amazed how quickly it came. Now we want things to come right away. David was in a time where if you sent messengers to another kingdom, you would wait weeks to have a message back. He was waiting patiently. For who? For the Lord. Notice the focus is not on himself, not on another person, not on another king. There's a sense here that David knew the Lord was the only one who could help him. He waited patiently for the only one who could help. And again, we know his name. He was waiting on Jesus. And what happened? He turned to me and heard my cry. God turned to him. A better word for this, the better Hebrew word is wayet, inclined. It means to bend, to bow down from heaven to hear, to listen to his prayer. We've been privileged for the past 2 years to have my wife nanny a little neighbor girl, Riley. She started to nanny Riley when Riley was 6 weeks old, and we got to watch her grow until she was 2. She is 2, but it's the summer, so not nannying. And as Riley started to talk, sometimes she would talk very loudly, and sometimes she would just whisper. So if you wanted to talk to Riley, you would have to get down to listen, to know what she wanted to say. Sometimes it was quite easy. I would be holding her, and my youngest daughter, Yabby, would come home from school, and Riley would say in her loud whisper voice, "Yabby, I want a cookie." She would say that after I said, "Riley, you can't have a cookie." But typically you have to get down to listen, to bend down, to listen, to hear her. That's what David was saying God did. He inclined, he bent down to hear my prayer. My friends, he heard David, and he promises to hear us.
It's so sweet to trust in Jesus, just to take him at his word, just to rest upon his promise, and to know thus saith the Lord. Jesus, Jesus, how I trust him, how I prove him o'er and o'er. Jesus, Jesus.